Reality is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that Barbados is an aged society. I've made the point several times that we are approaching what is called a super age society when 21% of your population is over 65. Our last census told us that we were around 20% or nearing 20%. Barbados has an aged society, and therefore, any legislation that we seek to bring, to advance, to use the words by the opposition leader again, the idea of modernity and modernization, we must recognize that there is a significant number of our population, sir, who is approaching 65 and some beyond, sir. And it would be unwise for this government or any government to bring policies and do not take them into consideration. But I heard, and the opposition leader again admitted that perhaps he was drifting and did not hear, but I did hear, remember who brought the bill, say that there were going to be many things in place to ensure that older persons would have access to support. In fact, I heard him say, working with this ministry, the persons would get support. I did hear him say that the young people who do the Give Back program would be tasked, having been trained, would be tasked with working with older persons to help them get to this point. But Mr. Speaker, sir, I remember a conversation I had with the president of BARP. And BARP is very much progressive and in relation to how elder persons must move forward, older persons, BARP is also ensuring that they have an understanding of the digital realities of the modern world. In fact, I believe she goes further than me. She says that we must accept that the world in which we live, this is going to be how it is, how business is done, and we cannot get away from it. Mr. Speaker, sir, you would also appreciate that when we did a lot of these digital payments, we said that persons would still have the opportunity to receive checks when checks were the order of the day. When we started doing the payments for welfare and NAS, sir, we said people would still have the opportunity to receive checks. And a lot of what we do, sir, is done cognizant of the fact that it is going to be a battle, not only for older persons, there's some younger people too, but as time progresses, we who are in the generation now, sir, 40, 50, 35 to 45 and so on. As people get older, people have been born in the digital age. And so this idea that people will fear technology forever is obviously not going to be the reality. I think eventually, sir, when I, in another 10 years, sir, find myself legitimately in that population, I would have grown up. The opposition leader, sir, I think he's expressing some idea for me to feel comfort because he's been there a while. And while he continues to support remarks at the member for St. Thomas, I think they're in the same generation. And it is not a man who I consider to be a chivalrous man, sir. When he makes those remarks, sir, I feel a little bit disappointed. One, because I know him to be a decent, noble man, and two, because he himself is in that generation. It is a man who attacks himself, sir. A man who is at war with himself, sir, is a dangerous man, because if you turn on yourself, you would turn on anybody. So said the people of Christchurch South. But Mr. Speaker, sir, let us get back to that which is before the House, Mr. Speaker, sir. I think that is important. So when I was minister responsible for the fisheries, sir, and maritime, I remember having conversations, so because I feel this is the way to go, I remember having conversations with the fish vendors about the need to go digital. I remember when we were talking to the jet ski operators, we had many meetings, when we would be talking to the jet ski operators about the business that they could gain and not lose, sir, because while this is convenient for persons in the business world, so this is more convenient for regular people. And I remember saying to the jet ski operators at the time, sir, Barbados has a long way to go on many things. There was a time when they had to carry a paper ID card wrapped in a plastic bag, sir, to prove that they were legitimately allowed to be on the beach. We gave them ID cards. And we started having a conversation around having a proper ID card, sir, and you would be surprised to see how happy they were to just receive a waterproof, proper ID card. We then started having a conversation around having digital payments because they recognize, sir, that many people come on the beach and not coming with cash. Where Barbados is, or was, because this is like 2021, 2020, and I'm pretty sure where we are now, the world has long passed that. Many tourists do not come with cash. They have their phones, they want to make a transfer. So I use, permit me to say, sir, I think I'm allowed to say, I use First Pay. Many people now use first pay. When you go to the barber wants to know if you have first pay, where you just transfer the money in a flash from your account to their account. The world is changing, Mr. Speaker, sir. And again, the President of BARC constantly reminds me that it is not wise for us to try to keep the older population from the changes in the world, but we have to prepare them for it. And I think that is the charge of our ministry, sir, to prepare the older population for the changes that are coming in the world, sir. And I think we've been doing a fairly decent job at that, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also want to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we, in relation to older persons and the threat, and the Honourable member who led this debate, sir, would have said, sir, that in terms of financial abuse, sir, that older persons are prone to be victims of it because people think they're easy targets. And the legislation that we are bringing, Mr. Speaker, sir, I had hoped to lay it before the end of this year. Hopefully we can lay it early next year. I'm sure the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, as he has done on all social pieces of legislation, in all fairness to him, and all pieces of social legislation would find it one that he could support. Because we put in there, sir, some very serious penalties, and also, sir, as it relates to abuse of older persons, some serious jail time. Because we are taking this extremely seriously, Mr. Speaker, sir. Older people deserve to be able to live in dignity. They deserve to feel safe in this country, sir. And even as we modernize, we do not do so at the expense, sir, of our most vulnerable. And I think that is the point that the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central made repeatedly. And so I wonder, Mr. Speaker, sir, as I listen to the Leader of the Opposition, because the member who raised the bill was so clear in relation to what we are doing, why we are doing it, and how we intend to safeguard persons, sir, who come up against these kind of concerns. And sometimes people create straw men. And people who are gifted, who have the gift of gab, can make people believe that something that is as innocent and as progressive as this is a dangerous thing. And people sometimes create straw men, Mr. Speaker, sir, so that they can attack the straw men and seem to be the savior of the masses. And, I know the Honourable Leader of the Opposition likes literature. I remember Don Quixote, sir, de la Mancha. It is a great Spanish novel. The story is told of Don Quixote, sir, who loses sense of what is real. He's a noble man, very noble person, well-intended, but he loses sense of reality. He stumbles upon some windmills and assumes them to be giants and engages in a war with these windmills. And sometimes, sir, I feel as if the idea here is that we find ourselves debating things that have been made windmills, sir, when in fact, sir, have been made giants, sir, when in fact, sir, these are actually progressive things, as windmills probably were in their time. This idea that something that is progressive becomes giants to be attacked, sir, by a crazy person in literature. In literature, Don Quixote.
On a point of order, sir, would someone hold the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South and say to him that I did not oppose the legislation? Will someone cuddle him and tell him that?
Honourable Member. Honourable Member.
He's misleading the chamber now.
Honourable Member for Christchurch South.
Hold him, sir.
Honourable Member for Christchurch South. The Honourable Member for St. Michael's South has not said that you oppose the legislation. He has not said that. He said the opposite. He said the opposite, actually, Honourable Member. So please listen. Please listen. Please listen to the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South. You will do well to listen to the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South.
But he is misleading you, sir.
No, he's not misleading me.
If you allow me to finish,
I think you are trying to mislead me. Honourable Member, there's no point of order. I think you are trying to mislead me. And
no, I'm not trying to mislead you. I want someone to tell the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South what I said about the legislation.
Honourable Member, he was most... Honourable, you can sit down. It's not a point of... The Honourable Member for St. Michael's South was very appreciative of you.
Of me?
As it relates to what you said this morning. Continue, Honourable Member for St. Michael's South.
Thank you, sir, for rescuing me from
Don Quixote.
Sir, I really enjoyed my conversations with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. You know, I actually cherish his friendship. But Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't intend to be drawn out, because now, as I said when I began, I thanked him profusely for the support of that which is before the House. And in fact, what I said was that the Honourable, it is difficult to tell when he supports or does not support, but I think he supports, and I thank him very much for his support, sir. And my references, sir, to literature have nothing to do with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Pardon me? No, I spoke of people, Honourable, Mrs. Speaker, sir, I spoke
Honourable,
of...
you're speaking to the chamber. Do not be sidetracked. You're speaking to the chamber, to the
Mr.
House.
Speaker, sir, thank you very much, sir. I would never consider the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to be a madman, sir. I have a lot of respect for him. But I must continue my point on Don Quixote. In fact, no, Mr. Speaker, sir. Yeah, it's like I have tried, sir, to make these references purely as someone who enjoys reading, Mr. Speaker, sir, but, you know, when you do not attack someone and they run to their own defense, on a conversation around persons who are deluded, on a conversation around persons who are deluded, then it is clear that such delusions perhaps visit members on occasion, Mr. Speaker, sir, members of the human race. Don't draw any Honourable Member for St. Thomas into this, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, please address the chamber. If you do not get, Honourable Member.
I agree, Mr. Speaker, sir. I just find it, the Honourable Member for St. Thomas, Mr. Speaker, sir, you know, the Leader of the Opposition often, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition likes to call us out when we are shouting across or even whispering to one another, but he never listens in silence. The Honourable Leader, sir, the Honourable Member never listens in silence. In the chamber, sir, we listen. We often do not say when he says sometimes very unlikely things about other members, sir. As I said before, I think very highly of him, and sometimes when things are said that seem uncharacteristic of him, Mr. Speaker, sir, I tell myself that perhaps the Honourable Leader of the Opposition might be having a bad day. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will not draw out the point on Don Quixote, sir. It just occurred to me, Mr. Speaker, sir, for those who haven't read it, though, there's a way people create these straw men and just attack them all day long. And then, Mr. Speaker, sir, then some people, Mr. Speaker, sir, in other places, not in here, would take a 20 to 30-second framing of that attack on the straw men that they created and post it on social media to say, look how I defended the interests of the working class as savior of the working class, without saying that I created the enemy in the first place, because nothing, sir, was said of these things. It's the most remarkable approach to the debate. And as we near the end of this year, Mr. Speaker, sir, as we near the end of this calendar year, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am appreciative, sir, of the nature of theatre and arts. As someone who enjoys theatre and the arts, sir, that I am allowed to be exposed to sometimes even while I am here. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I just wanted to rise to support the legislation, to give the Honourable Leader of the Opposition the assurance, on a serious note, to give him the assurance that there is no way that we will allow legislation to pass in this place that exposes the older population, sir, and not put mechanisms in place to support them, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I feel it is necessary for us to be able to say that we will continue to work with BART, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central has already asked the Ministry of People Empowerment to help with the PR program and to do those things that would allow people to have that understanding. Mr. Speaker, so I believe that the questions raised by the opposition leader are good questions. And the fact that the question came after the answers, however, because the answers were given before the questions, might be perhaps a little bit surprising. But the questions were good questions. And because the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central had already answered them, I want to repeat the answer, that we will put in place all the necessary mechanisms to ensure that the older population, persons with disabilities, sir, those who are younger and do not understand technology, sir, would be able to access it, sir. But that we will not allow the thrust to modernity to compromise the support for those who are vulnerable in this country, Mr. Speaker, sir. And with those few words, sir, I thank you.
Honourable Christchurch East Central.
Thank you, sir, very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to also thank the Leader of the Opposition for his support. I want to assure him that I want to assure him, sir, that I thank him for his recognition of the work that I have done, and to indicate that I believe my constituents recognize that all of Barbados, including them, have benefited from the work that not just myself, but the entire government and him when he was on this side, sir. When he was on this side. So I will leave that there, because like the Honourable Member for St. Michael South, let me thank him for his intervention. The reality is, if you create something in your mind and you repeat it often enough, you start to believe your own rhetoric. But be that as it may, sir, this government, we have been delivering and continue to deliver for all of the people of Barbados. And as much as he might wish to feel something in his heart, the reality is that feelings, sir, cannot change the facts. And certainly the facts can change feelings as appropriate. But the reality is we will deliver, sir. We have been delivering. And the purpose of this particular amendment today is to continue to ensure that whether the barbers in Wotton, the hairdresser in Wilson Village, the mechanic in Ashbyland, sir, the wholesale people in Vauxhall, the other mechanic and the shop in Edie Village, sir, all of the persons in Kingston who get up every day, go to work and participate in this economy, sir, the people in Durance, as well as the rest of Barbados, sir, will benefit significantly because of this intervention here today. And so I am confident, sir, that as we roll this out, that the people will start to understand why it's important that we have engaged in this process, because this is not a delivery solely for macroeconomics, sir, but is to ensure that persons are integrated and included in this recovery that we have engineered, and this will further do so for them, their families, their communities, so provided, sir, that they adopt these technologies aggressively. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition asks specifically about the proportion of cash transactions that will be in place a year from now, 2 years from now. What we have observed is there has been a significant increase post-pandemic, significant increase in electronic transactions post-pandemic, because as you recall, sir, when we were in lockdown, And I made reference just a slight reference in relation to the fact that because persons were not traveling anymore, we saw a significant increase in packages being imported into the country from off of Amazon and a whole set of other platforms, which has spurred a lot of new couriers and business within that space that we are seeing the impact of it today. And so the need for people to be able to continue that is significant because a lot of businesses then transitioned very quickly because the pandemic required that, because people could not come to your space physically, that we were able to see that increase in adoption of what was the existing technology. The reality is, sir, that in a year's time, as I just said there, and it is my hope that those roughly 2,000 people that we just sent out reverse tax credits for, because checks technically is the same as cash. And so certainly it is my hope that we can deliver to those 2,000 persons digital cash, quote unquote, and by extension, that Barbadians will see an adoption of the convenience of this technology such that they may desire not to have to take cash. I cannot give him a definitive number, but I can say this, as I said before, people will have an option with respect to whether they carry physical cash or not. But I think the honourable member from St. Michael South raised a very clear point that, and it's coincidental that the honourable member for St. Michael South raised the question in relation to the vendors on the beach, because they're no different to any other small business person in the economy. The reality is, as the honourable member for St. Michael West Central is bringing more and more tourists to Barbados, with a plethora of Airbnbs within our community, sir, and the appetite with respect to the expectation that these people have in relation to how they will experience Barbados. If we want to encourage community tourism, and we want to increase the spend from tourists, whether on the beach, as the honourable member from St. Michael South has indicated with respect to the visitors to the beach themselves, or visitors in our communities, that our adoption of these technologies will in of itself significantly increase visitor spend, not just in the hotels as they do now, but right across the length and breadth of Barbados, such that no opportunity will be spurned if we adopt these technologies. And that in of itself, sir, as Bajans adopt these things, and I am in no doubt, sir, that people will, because nobody is going to allow a sale to go by. Nobody's going to, well, I don't think anybody in their right mind, maybe Don Quixote might, but nobody in their right mind would allow someone standing in front of you to say, well, I don't have any cash, do you have Bimpe? And therefore, I say, well, I don't have Bimpe, but the honourable member to my left and the honourable member to my right, they have Bimpe offering the same thing, the person will go to them. And so, the issue here is not, for me, the issue is not a question of whether there will be cash transactions in the future. Cash, as you know, sir, right across Sprite Street there's a big able vault there in Sprite Street that holds the cash. And let me make this point very clearly, sir. Having money in a digital wallet still requires the central bank as the ultimate clearance facility to make sure that there's cash to be transferred from one cash balances to be managed and transferred from one institution to the next. The fact that there's cash physically in circulation still has to be the digital, so you don't just create new money because it's new money. The physical cash that's in circulation has to be linked to the digital space. As you know, sir, you can't spend money twice. You could convince yourself that you can spend the same money twice, but you can't. The reality is the management of our cash resources on a daily basis happens now between banks and the central bank. So if I transfer money to you, sir, from one bank to another, and there are a number of other transactions at the end of the day, 3 o'clock, when the balances are closed, Bank A says to the central bank, this is what Bank B owes me based on our record for the day, and the monies are transferred in the ledger, the fancy word, the thing up, the vault over there, sir, they transferred to make sure that everybody's balances are up to date, and therefore the issue is not whether the proportion of cash in circulation, but our ability to ensure that whilst we are doing things digitally, that whether the cash is physically stored at the central bank or in the vaults of the various banks, that if any Belgian at any point in time on their phone wishes to be able to have physical cash available, they can show up at any financial institution and be able to validate in the same way that, you know, back in the day, you should be able to go and cash a check with the app. So if I write a check to you, sir, from my bank, you would take it to yours and you get it cash, sir. The ability for anybody to be able to access the cash has to be honored. And therefore, whether it is on your phone digitally, if you want to withdraw that amount in cash, you will be able to present it to any financial institution because it is backed by the government and the Central Bank of Barbados that this balance that you have on your account is available to you in cash if you so desire. Now, of course, somebody might want to know, well, why the speaker wants so much cash? No, you proverbially, sir, need so much cash given the volume of digital transactions taking place. But it is backed by hard currency in the vault of the central bank, in the vaults of the various banks and financial institutions that we have in the country. So I hope that that answers anybody's viewpoint with respect to the availability of cash. And I know that when we did the solidarity allowance a few months ago, I wish that we had been paid available, sir. Because if we did, we would have been able to do that in 24 hours. Everybody would have been paid smoothly, and rather than people having to line up and go through that process as we did a few months ago. And therefore, whilst we want to have the persons who are our senior citizens will have the options in the same way that the young people will have the options. I know and I expect that more and more persons will utilize the facility, and as a result, there will be less physical cash transactions, but it does not mean less physical cash. And therefore, for the persons who may not want to make the transition, they might find themselves not disadvantaged, but they understand that there will be a cost for any business that is now handling less cash. Because if the amount of cash physically in circulation now there's a certain cost to managing that, and it is certainly my expectations that businesses will want to encourage people to adopt a digital transaction process because it saves everybody money in relation to the pricing, and therefore I know that Bajans will understand that reasonably well. And therefore, I hope that the adoption is aggressive so that we can reduce the waiting times, reduce the delivery times to actually have more efficiency in the economy. And with more efficiency in the economy, Mr. Speaker, then I'm confident that the financial inclusion will be there. Persons will be able to have different options for expanding their businesses. There will be additional employment in new areas because of this particular intervention. But more importantly, just as we have focused on how we can ensure that Bajans will have convenience as we bring more and more visitors to our island, the ability for people right in the heart of our communities to be more included in the tourism sector, I think then becomes a lived reality, such that tourism generally is not seen as something that is West Coast, South Coast, but our community tourism products are lived experience for our citizens, and the ram shops and the bars and the people selling and doing services in communities will have equal access to Visit Spain as the other more formal institutions in the tourism sector.
And the taxi operators.
The taxi operators, everybody. But it will broaden beyond the traditional tourism stakeholders the opportunity for Bajans to fully participate in the economy. And that is why we have been pushing so aggressively to have the hotel investment and the restaurant investment completed. You bring more people, and as people experience not just the traditional product offering, Bajans as well will be able, with respect to the community tourism program, will also be, will have the ability to access more visitor spend, and therefore the economy grows even further. And so, sir, I hope that answers the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I thank him for his support nevertheless, and to say to Bajans, do not fear. We will continue the engagement, we will continue the training, the sensitization, and as I said, accessibility certainly for persons with disabilities will be a feature of the process, as it is the case right now with certain disabilities as it relates to technology. We make sure that's consistent, and clearly it will be ongoing work, not just with the elderly, but those segments of the society that even though there is technology available, financial literacy, sir, financial literacy will still be a critical element, which I know the Ministry of Energy and Business have been, when the Honourable Member for St. James South was there, has started, and therefore we will continue to ensure then that right across the demographics that we're able to enhance the financial literacy to avoid people falling prey to the various nefarious scams that exist out there. And so, sir, with those very few words, I beg to move, sir, that this bill be read a second time.
The question is that this bill be read a second time. All those who are members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that you do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill.
Second.
The question is that the Speaker do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill. All those are members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it.
This Honourable House is now in committee.
Mr. Chairman, permission to call the clauses in sets, please.
Permission so granted.
Thank you. Clauses 1 through 5.
Chairman, I beg to move that clause 1 through 5 stand part.
The question is that clauses 1 through 5 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clauses 6 through 10.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that clause 6 through 10 stand part.
The question is that clauses 6 through 10 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clauses 11 through 15.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that clause 11 through 15 stand part.
Second.
Question is that clauses 11 through 15 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I beg now that you do not report His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee.
The question is that I do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chairman of committees is reporting the passing of one bill in committee. Honourable Christ Church, East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a third time.
The question is that the bill be read a third time. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be now passed and cited as the National Payment System Amendment Act 2025.
The question is that this bill be passed and so cited. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited.
Mr. Speaker, order number 11, in name of the Honorable Minister in the Ministry of Finance to move the second reading of the Central Bank of Barbados Amendment Bill 2025.
Honourable member for Christ Church, East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a second time.
The question is that this bill be read a second time. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that you do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself in the committee for further consideration of this bill.
The question is that the Speaker do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Yeah, I have sent them back before.
This honorable House is now in committee.
Clause 1.
Chair, I beg to move that clause 1 stand part.
The question is that clause 1 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Chair, I beg to move that clause 2 stand part.
The question is that clause 2 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Chair, I beg to move that clause 3 stand part.
The question is that clause 3 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Chair, I beg to move that clause 4 stand part.
The question is that clause 4 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chair, I beg to move that we do not report as under the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee.
The question is that I do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a third time.
Second.
The question is that the bill be read a third time. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be now passed and cited as the Central Bank of Barbados Amendment Act 2025.
Second.
The question is that this bill be passed and so cited. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited.
Order number 12, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance, to move the second reading of the Economic Diversification and Growth Fund Bill 2025.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to commence this debate just to give confidence to the country that the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Program continues. And we have made strides in restoring economic confidence to the country. Our foreign reserve situation is well set, sir. Our debt continues to decline and is now below 100%, sir, at 99.8% from the highs of almost 200%, sir, 7 years ago. Fiscal discipline, sir, has been restored, but the plank which was critical and missing prior to us taking office was that we had an extended period of low growth, but we now have had 17 quarters of continuous growth, and thanks to the honourable member here from on my right, and the good work in the rest of the economy, agriculture, and a range of other areas. I know we had some slight debate on Tuesday about output and these types of things, but the reality is, sir, that the work right across every sector, sir, in this economy is performing, and therefore we expect that certainly this quarter and the quarters to come, barring any extraordinary circumstance, that we will see 18 quarters of growth, and that will take us into next year. I start there, sir, because our anchor from 7.5 years ago was that we needed to get our debt to GDP down to 60% by 2033. As you know, sir, the pandemic came. We pushed that target back to 60% by 2035. Underpinning, sir, that assumption was not just the reforms that we have been undertaking, but an average growth rate, sir, of 2%. And so even though we have, in the last 7.5 years, pandemic notwithstanding, sir, we recovered quickly, we have been exceeding that 2% average growth rate in the last few years, and we want to be able to continue on that trajectory. You and I both know, sir, that the government has had to expand its capital works program within the context of limited fiscal space, because we have to focus on paying down debt. And let me reiterate, sir, paying 70 cents in the dollar in debt 7 years ago meant that you really could not do anything meaningful for the people of Barbados. We've reduced that, sir, to less than 30 cents, and we intend to keep that at less than 30 cents in the revenue, in terms of the revenue dollar. But the focus, sir, is really on growth. The public sector investment program has delivered, meaning government's capital works program, sir, has delivered some of the growth that we've seen. But as you and I can visually see right across Barbados, from large investment in hotels to people, ordinary Barbadians building homes, to new businesses popping up. And as the bill we just debated, sir, once we can see an aggressive adoption of technologies, as it indicated, conservatively, sir, I expect an extra 1% of GDP in base growth purely from efficiency with respect to the adoption of the technologies conservatively, sir. But we've done a lot of work, sir, to deal with the FATF, OECD, FATCA. My honourable friend here from St. Michael's South, which was perhaps less known to the public, started to address a number of the critical areas related to the International Maritime Organization in terms of their assessment of Barbados' state of readiness within the maritime space. Not a lot of things that Barbadians connect with directly, but would have experienced because either no business was coming to Barbados as a result of it, and therefore the honourable member for St. Michael's South started diligently with respect to addressing some of those with very long-standing issues with respect to the Bridgetown Port and the regulations and all of that. The honourable member here on my right, sir, who is now charged with tourism and international transport, has been addressing the issues on the civil aviation side. Because when we came to office, sir, just like the maritime space, there was a significant audit that we needed to address a range of issues within the civil aviation space to make sure that Barbados' competitiveness, our ability to expand the carriers, to handle new aircraft, in the same way that in the port, we needed to build new infrastructure in order to be able to handle larger ships, doing more business in the country. These are some of the things that were less known that we have also corrected, and not 100%, but we are significantly along the way there in order to attract new business to the economy, sir. So we've done a lot of internal reform works to try to improve Barbados' reputation on the tax side, on the money laundering side, with respect to civil aviation, with respect to the maritime space, sir, in order to allow Barbadians more opportunities, sir, to participate and to be included. Because had we adopted a similar approach of the last government, which was to leave things unattended, sir, we would not be seeing the level of investor confidence in Barbados today, business confidence, and notwithstanding the fact, sir, that we have had some challenges because of external circumstances driving costs beyond Barbados' control. I know, sir, that consumer confidence is much higher today than when we came to office 7.5 years ago. And so we have been diligent in setting about unpacking the very things that were humbugging the country in order to unlock opportunities for Barbadians to participate in the recovery. And we are here today, sir, to in effect, start to actively prime the way with respect to diversification of the economy. Let me be clear, sir. Barbados is an economy that prides itself, sir, with respect to welcoming people to Barbados, And in welcoming people to Barbados, sir, we believe that if we deliver the best possible service of hospitality, that people will come and want to stay and come back to Barbados, as the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central can attest, in relation to the number of people who repeatedly come to Barbados over and over and over. And we want to broaden that not just from persons from the Northern Hemisphere, but people from the Southern Hemisphere, people from Africa, Middle East, and further beyond, in order to ensure that, one, we diversify within tourism so that we can remove the seasonality between April and November as much as possible, sir. So that is one important element with respect to the diversification component, and therefore we are seeing benefits from that, and we will continue, sir, to be able to achieve that. But beyond that, what I would describe as, because we can't get away from the fact that people want to come to Barbados. Whether we like it or not, sir, people can come to Barbados and like coming to Barbados, and we must value and treasure that particular fact. We have a level of stability. People come and can walk out the place and without confusing them, sir. That is what we must understand and value, and hope that that continues, sir, to be part of the charm of Barbados. And therefore, diversifying within tourism to bring more people to have more, what you would call, sir, capacity utilization, so that between April and November, not just our hotel rooms, not just our restaurants, but the same Airbnbs in our community tourism, sir, will also see more utilization of that space so that we can get even more foreign exchange earning in this country. But beyond that, because we know that obviously the pandemic showed us that you can have a shock that can have a significant impact on that. So, against all of that, sir, we want to have new industries in Barbados, new industries. And we have determined, sir, that we want to attract as much as possible, given we have no thanks to the last government that significantly impaired the number of young people that were studying science and all types of other things at the university. This government certainly has remedied that, and we will continue through the work that the Honourable Member for St. James North, carrying on from the member from St. Philip West with respect to educational transformation, sir, and the member for St. James South with the training of Barbadians, that we want to develop a framework that allows us to be able to utilize the skills of these Barbadians in science in particular, especially with respect to areas of R&D, areas with respect to pharmaceutical production, technology. Many Barbadians will see what is described as the spaceship up in Newton in my constituency, sir, and asking, well, what is going on there? And the reality is, sir, that we want to utilize that facility to be able to produce pharmaceuticals in Barbados, because as you know, sir, during the pandemic, the bigger fellas, sir, decided that they can keep for themselves, and then we had to hope, sir, that somebody remembered that the small countries in the Caribbean existed. And so building capacity within that space, especially given that we need more research for the development of pharmaceuticals suited to our genome, sir, is important. But that aside, we feel that high-valued research and manufacturing, where the earning of foreign exchange is at the center of it, but equally being able to employ, sir, as many Barbadians as possible in the enterprise, which is addressed in the bill, is really what we want to be able to utilize this economic diversification and growth fund to be able to do. So in short, sir, we will continue to build out the rest of the economy as is. And I say as is, meaning we will modernize, we can do more efficiency, we can improve service delivery, and set that on its own trajectory with respect to growth and momentum going forward. Because remember, as I said at the very beginning, our assumption with respect to the objective for 60% by 2035 is average 2% growth, which is entirely achievable with the existing economy as it is. But we do not want to be overly reliant on any specific area. We recognize that we have a certain concentration that relates to tourism, so we have to do our best to make sure we maximize from it, but at the same time, we want to, in a real sense, sir, you can see this here as adding yeast, if you like, sir, to grow the pudding, sir. We want the pie to be a little bigger. And the pie can get bigger two ways: growing the existing economy as it is, and adding new sectors to be able to diversify our economy, and therefore this is what this is geared towards. And so as we look at implementing BERT 3, coming out of 7.5 years of success, where we've been able to move the economy from less than 10 billion to just about $14.5 billion in size, we feel that it is important to add these new planks because of the acute vulnerability in relation to our size, the geopolitical concerns that we all share, and therefore we want to put things in place that as we are building out the further on the broad-based successes that we've had in the last 7.5 years, that we would be able now to say, look, we are going to allocate resources to ensure that we can broaden and diversify business activity in Barbados. So any business who can present to the fund a valid case with respect to being able to do something different that will allow us to have more employment of Barbadians, highly skilled Barbadians. And I repeat, the Honourable Member for St. James South has been given a very clear mandate by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet that Barbados is to be a training campus, utilizing the free courses that we have in Coursera, all of the institutions that we have on the island, to allow Barbadians, sir, to be, again, able to earn more. Earn more, because we're engaging in high-valued areas, sir, which physically we can accommodate, and we are building out under a sustainable industrial development framework, not just what you see at Newton, but we have strategically identified areas where we believe, sir, that these elements of manufacturing, different from what we have seen in the past, will stand us in good stead strategically, not just to build resilience from logistics or from the perspective of a future pandemic and those types of things, but generally speaking, to ensure that we are able to allow our people the confidence to know that they can live in Barbados, engage in what I would describe as cutting-edge technology development, cutting-edge pharmaceutical research, sir, cutting-edge to the point where even within our delivery of healthcare in this country, that we can see the marrying of those types of activities align with our expansion and investment within the infrastructure in health and a range of other sectors, sir, that allows us to be able to see a consistent and clear path with respect to diversification of the economy. I only give these examples, sir, because it is important that the public appreciates that we would be happy, or there's some of us who would be happy to just let things go along on the merry way as it is going. But I want to say to Barbadians that that is not enough, because I know that whilst we have developed a very clear climate investment plan, which has public sector investment in it, it also has private sector investment in it, and we will be implementing that climate investment plan, that there will come a point, sir, over the course of the next 5 to 6 years or so, where, yes, we will be implementing some of the capital projects as government, but there will come a point where the quantum of government investment in the public sector investment program will start to taper off, sir. And when we reach that point, we want, over the next 5 to 7 years or so, we want that by the time we get there, sir, that the bill that is before this chamber today, and we're able to have new businesses created in Barbados, employing Barbadians, that within that 7-year period, sir, within that 7-year period, that as these businesses start to get established, start to drive the foreign exchange earnings that we expect them to be able to achieve, have the level of employment, additional employment from what is in our current profile of the economy, sir, that the transition from the government's capital program starting to be reduced, that we should be seeing the ascendancy, sir, with respect to this additional set of economic activity, starting then to replace what will be the commensurate reduction with respect to the capital program. So whilst we accept that government always has a role to play in small open economies like Barbados, prudent economic management will dictate that we have to make sure that as we are mapping the path forward, sir, that we create an environment, sir, that allows us to see, in a sense, sir, a smooth transition, I hope, with respect to the level of investment that will be required from government relative to new economic activity taking shape, if you like, sir, over the course of a 5 to 7 year period. Of course, we would like it earlier, but with the best will in the world, you need to have your facilities put in place. We've already started with respect to what's taking place. Certainly at Newton, we are modernizing the rest of the infrastructure as it relates to the Barbados Industrial Development Corporation, or Export Barbados, sir. And therefore, it is that perspective that I want to share with the Chamber is the reason for the bill before the House today. And whilst this is important, because in order to create as much as possible a buffer with respect to any potential shocks that might arise down the road, we believe the work that we will continue to do within the context of the existing profile of the economy, that this is going to be critical, sir, with respect to the medium to long-term future prospects of a Barbados economy that can actually be considered to be effectively diversified. So the Economic Diversification and Growth Fund, sir, is a fund to be established, and the purpose of which is to provide financial support to qualifying companies to increase employment and contribute to economic growth. I should say, sir, that the earning of foreign exchange, and there are a few amendments which we will make to the text in committee, but the commitment to the earning of foreign exchange is going to be absolutely critical with respect to this as it relates to the job. So companies obviously will have a real and substantive economic presence in Barbados, sir, in order to be able to be considered to be qualified with respect to the fund. And this is going to be important. Now, we will establish over the course of 3 years or so, $225 million into the fund, which we will appropriate, obviously, over the 3-year cycle in order to ensure that the resources would be available to be able to achieve the objective. There will be a committee which in the schedule, sir, the committee to make recommendations in relation to the fund, ex officio, the Director of Finance and Economic Affairs, who shall be the chairman of the committee, the Governor of the Central Bank, who shall be the Deputy Chairman. We will also have the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados International Business Promotion Corporation, otherwise known, sir, as Invest Barbados, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation, known as Export Barbados, as well as 2 members, sir, appointed by the Minister. As I said, sir, this is rooted in our ability to not just achieve a sustainable industrial framework as additional areas for new investment. We want to accelerate as quickly as we can, given that we have been utilizing resources from the Industrial Development Fund, which have been used to construct the spaceship, as you like, sir, that people see at Newton. And we want to be able to spur on this kind of thing, but in order to have an ecosystem where you're having high-valued research done, cutting-edge work being done in the country, you need facilities where you can attract that type of activity, given the standards, one, that are required in order to meet the thresholds for access to markets, in order to get your products into the market space, and therefore the highest quality environment, quote unquote, sir, is critical with respect to being able to achieve these objectives. And so what we have agreed is that that committee obviously will assess any applications with respect to companies that might meet the criteria which we will set out thereafter. The National Growth Council, sir, is charged with shaping, if you like, sir, policy to be able to help the economy continue to grow, sir, and therefore any recommendation with respect to accessing the fund will be aligned with or consistent with, or I should say in consultation with respect to the Growth Council as to whether a company qualifies for resources from the fund. And therefore, we want to say to Barbadians that this effort is an attempt to ensure that we can add new pillars of growth, which is not going to happen overnight, sir. And therefore, if you want to see not just the earning of more foreign exchange, we want to have a more inclusive, again, set of skills being accessed for these companies to be able to utilize. New areas of in a sense, sir, breaking new ground to help transform the Barbados economy. We believe that this, along with all of the other work that I mentioned in relation to civil aviation, to the maritime space, sir. We are currently working on the regulations through the Barbados Pharmaceuticals Inc. in relation to the regulatory framework that's required for pharmaceutical production and those types of things in the country as it stands. It's been happening for the last, in a sense, 3 years, but certainly the IMO work and the civil ICAO work was started from when we came to office, sir. We've reached a convergence point now, sir, where in order to accelerate, we want to make sure that we are very targeted with respect to our intervention in this space, such that it gives us the best opportunity, sir, to add that new activity, which over the next 3 to 5 to 7 years, that we then start to see a shaping of the Barbados economy that is very different from the trajectory that we have now. And whilst I repeat, sir, that we will continue to diversify within tourism, I know that the Minister of Agriculture, in the introduction of climate-smart technologies, is also, in a sense, sir, diversifying within agriculture in relation to changing the way that things are done, which means that you can produce more, safer, traceability is in place, sir. All of the things that you know you need for accessing markets, all of the fancy non-tariff barriers that were used to stop our products from accessing the market, sir. All of these are things that we are undertaking within the existing economy to change standards, to improve on our ability to get into the market and get our products to market. These are things that will continue. And therefore, we want to make sure that there will never, ever be again, sir, a time in Barbados where there's little or no growth. We do not like the fact that there has been a lost decade, sir. And therefore, this is to protect average Barbadians from that kind of acute vulnerability. And so I am confident, sir, that we can financially engineer any solution. I am. But it's up to Barbadians, sir, to stay the course, so to speak, sir, stay the course, because it is, I think we have been able to demonstrate these last 7.5 years that in spite of the very many challenges that we have been faced with, that we have come out the best and we've come out on top of it. And if we've been able to accept that, notwithstanding that there may be wars in other places, which I cannot conceive, I really cannot conceive of what that must be like living in a war zone or the prospect of war. We have gone through a very, very serious 7.5 years, sir. But in spite of those challenges, sir, the Barbados economy has proven itself to be resilient. We can now further bolster that resilience by being strategic, by being purposeful, sir, that allows us now the opportunity to ensure that no young Barbadian or no skilled Barbadian necessarily has to leave these shores in order to believe that they can contribute something meaningful to the world. And so as we are priming Barbadians through the training opportunities, the matching of those training opportunities with new investment is going to be important. So in as much as I know my honourable friend from St. Peter has established the jobs register, sir, with respect to connecting opportunities in the economy, shaping and showing where opportunities exist. The honourable member for St. James St. James South is going to train people out of their skin, sir. But we will train people out of their skin and show them a path, sir, where that training can be utilized so that the very little resources that we do have, that they are as streamlined, sir, as possible. And therefore, I reiterate, sir, the work that the Honourable Member for St. James North is continuing with respect to education transformation, sir, is just as important, because our young people must know and see and feel, sir, that this place we call Barbados, whilst there is their home, they must see themselves as part of building the future Barbados. And therefore, the expansion of opportunities, the bill that we just passed, sir, with respect to payments and technologies, and I know that a whole range of different things are going to come from that. I know that we will be in a position, sir, to have as strong and resilient an economy as possible if we're able to build these new areas and do them within the shortest time frame, sir, to be able to ensure that not just that Barbadians are employed, but that the earning of foreign exchange and the foreign exchange actually staying in the country is going to be significant. Now, what is equally important, sir, with this particular initiative is that it is my hope, sir, it is my hope certainly that I and my colleagues will be here in 7 years to see it come to fruition. But in 7 years' time or so, sir, I expect that the output with respect to earning foreign exchange and jobs, but equally, sir, the additional revenues, tax revenues, given that we've set up the Globe rules to come into effect from income year 2025, we've set up the patent box framework and tax credits that we did as part of that to be able to drive areas of new investment, sir. I believe that once we stick to the script, so to speak, sir, that we will be able to see additional and significant tax revenue, sir, that allows us to be able to deliver enhanced and better services for the people of Barbados moving forward. And so I believe that this is a pivotal moment, sir, with respect to being able in a position now to chart our future in a way that we were not necessarily able to 7.5 years ago. And so I think with confidence of having turned the economy around, we don't take any of that work for granted. Our reputation has been restored, sir. We shouldn't take that for granted either, because we have to not just maintain, but enhance that reputation so that any business will feel confident to invest in Barbados, employ people in Barbados, earn foreign exchange for Barbados, sir, and diversify the Barbados economy, sir, is where we see this bill adding to our toolkit with respect to being able to build a more resilient Barbados. And so, as I had mentioned, sir, the earning of foreign exchange, which will come by amendment here, will be added to clause 7 as well in relation to the determination of applications. And so there will be a new B with respect to the earning of foreign exchange, which will be added to the bill. But suffice it to say, sir, we don't just, and this is not in any way, sir, to be judgmental in any way. You recall, sir, that what is now Sheraton Mall used to be Intel. We made chips, and up to I believe it was February of 2020, there was the last chip company closed in Newton and my constituency. I forget the name, but it was around that time, sir. And it really was to my regret that certainly at that time, just as the pandemic was about to kick off, our finances and stuff weren't even in place, in shape, sufficient shape, that would have allowed those persons who were involved in that business, even though they're relatively high skilled, comparatively, there wasn't the appetite amongst the staff to do a potential management buyout to be able to continue that kind of business. But as you would know, sir, the race is on now for all types of lithium and copper and cobalt and all types of things around the earth, the world, in order to be able to produce batteries and high-valued technologies. And therefore, I make the case that whilst we won't necessarily have that type of manufacturing like that before, the reestablishment of sustainable industrial and manufacturing of high-valued materials, products, is going to be part of Barbados' future. We've already set things in motion for that. This is now to make sure that we can actually make it happen within the time frame that suits, based on projections, that allows us to have a smooth transition as government's public sector investment program over the next 5 to 7 years starts to taper off. And therefore, we want any momentum for growth to be continued, so that it is not just about whether the debt to GDP will come down. We know that it will come down, because we will drive the growth and decisions to make it come down even faster. But that is one measure of success. But what we really, really, really want to achieve out of the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Program is to have a much more diversified economy, sir, a much more resilient economy. And as I said earlier, that means adopting technologies and different range of things within the existing economy, whilst we add genuinely so, sir, additional and new areas with respect to economic activity that allows us to be able to be less vulnerable, notwithstanding, sir, our size. And so the bill is here. The amendments that I indicated will be related to the earning of foreign exchange and making by ministerial order what those amounts will be. But in the substantive bill with respect to clause 7, we speak to the fact that we want to have senior positions, sir, as much as possible within these areas. We want to make sure that staffing will be at least a minimum of 100 Barbadians, sir, and that employment, sir, must be for a minimum of no less than 7 years. So it means that if you're coming here to establish substantively in Barbados, or you're expanding into a new area in Barbados, that in order to access resources from the fund, that the earning of foreign exchange, these jobs, which is not just near jobs, because we don't want low-paying jobs, sir. That's not part of the programming at all. The member for St. James South and the member for St. James North will deal with the education transformation and the training part to make sure that we can enhance our skills so that our people can get the best paying jobs possible, sir. That is their mandate. And I know that the Honourable Member for St. Peter in the jobs register will be able to make sure that we identify and match people, notwithstanding the fact that I hear people keeping noise, sir, about not having notice about the minimum wage, sir, of late. But that's a different subject. The reality is, it is our hope that over the long term, sir, that whilst you can never eliminate the need for a minimum wage, I hope that through these interventions, sir, and unlocking the talents of our Bajans, that less and less people will be relying on a minimum wage order to see a better life for them and their families, because we've been able to enhance their skills and to be able to unlock for them through not just this particular intervention, but as we do the other elements in relation to diversification for the economy, that we are in a position then to see them being able to earn substantially more, sir, than what they're earning today. And what is the no C will speak to obviously the obligations for being tax compliant and those types of things in relation to income tax, and of course, national insurance and those types of things will be important. And so you present your proposal, sir, the current size and scope of the company's operation in Barbados, the scale of proposed increase in employment, sir, in both absolute and relative terms, the proposal for the expansion of either your existing operation or new, if it's a new thing altogether, and to ensure then that obviously it accords with what certainly the Growth Council, what the Cabinet wants in relation to this policy direction, to make sure then that we are in a position to as I said, build out a more robust and a more resilient Barbados economy. And so this diversification effort, sir, is not to be taken lightly, because we have to do our utmost to ensure that we reduce our vulnerability, even though we are diversifying, as I said, within tourism and agriculture and these areas, to be able to match renewed investment in those areas, introduction of new technologies, have the linkages clearly defined across sectors, and add this new additional activity, because we are seeing down the road, we are seeing ahead, sir, where at that point where the tapering of the public sector investment program will occur, that you will need new activity taking up the slack for which government certainly has been driving over these last 7.5 years. And so we are confident, sir, that this is one of the ways that we believe we can sufficiently diversify the economy, and do so in a responsible way, do so to allow Barbadians to see that they have a role to play in the recovery, and by the same token, sir, earn more foreign exchange, have more tax revenues in the medium term, and allowing us, as I said, sir, to be less vulnerable and to build greater resilience as it relates to the economy. And so, sir, I promise not to be long, but I think that we have had a good and robust 7.5 years, notwithstanding the challenges. We want in the short term, as we will see, a continuation of the growth trajectory, but this is really about building a foundation, or a cornerstone, if you like, sir, with respect to being able to ensure then that in the medium to long term, that along with the existing work that we're doing, we're able to build new pillars of economic activity, provide additional opportunities for our Barbadians with high-paying jobs, so that our social capital, our social investments in education and in health and the other areas that we're putting in place, that this Barbados economy will be more diversified, more resilient, and less vulnerable, sir, to economic shocks. And so with those few words, sir, I beg to move that this bill be read a second time.
Honourable for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that this sitting be suspended for lunch until 2:30 p.m. today.
The question is that this honourable chamber be suspended until 2:30 p.m. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands suspended until 2:30 p.m.